Washington, D.C. symbolizes our nation's many liberties, including the freedom to vote. But in a city divided by politics, there is only one campaign slogan that has had unanimous appeal for half a century.
Hail to the Redskins! Hail victory! Braves on the warpath! Fight for old D.C.
Run or pass and score, we want a lot more. Beat 'em, swamp 'em, touch them, let the points soar. Fight on, till you have won, sons of Washington. Rock, rock, rock!
The success Washington has enjoyed in the 80s is the result of a proud winning tradition. Throughout the years, the Redskins have maintained an unrivaled level of excellence, instilled 50 seasons ago by the team's spirited founder. George Preston Marshall invested in the Boston Braves in 1932. But it wasn't until the flamboyant showman moved his team to Washington in 1937 that the Redskins began to earn rave reviews. Merchandising the team like his successful laundry business, Marshall proudly introduced pro football's first marching band, first fight song, and halftime shows that occasionally got a bit out of hand.
Our last home game before Christmas, in December. The first time he had a helicopter flying over and had Santa Claus bail out, and the wind picked the Santa Claus up, and like they killed him. Put it on top of the buildings back here in the wind blew it. But how smart he was, he had a substitute on under there. Here he comes out, see? Marshall, he put on the show.
Marshall's flair for showmanship even extended to the signing of his #1 draft choice, Slingin' Sammy Baugh.
When I was in school at TCU, I was flying to Washington to sign a contract. And at that time, I didn't wear boots. I didn't wear a cowboy hat at that time. But Mr. Marshall told me to wear a cowboy hat and boots and have a little Western flair there. And I did.
Marshall turned Baugh into an urban cowboy. And in his very first season, Slingin' Sammy successfully tamed the wild frontiers of pro football. In the 1937 NFL championship game, Baugh threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 to Hall of Famer Wayne Milner, number 40, in a 28-21 win over the Bears, while Chicago turned around and embarrassed Washington 73-0 in the 1940 title game. 2 years later, Baugh once again passed the Redskins to the world title and revenge by beating the Bears 14-6. In the late 30s and 40s, Washington was one of the NFL's most exciting teams, and Marshall ensured the Redskins' popularity by casting only the finest players in starring roles. Running back Cliff Battles led Washington in rushing in 1937. And along with Andy Farkas and Dick Todd began the long list of great Redskin backs. Baugh made the forward pass an offensive weapon instead of a desperate measure, and benefited from receivers such as Wayne Milner and Hugh Bones Taylor, number 28. While the early defenses were often overshadowed, players like lineman Turk Edwards and defensive back Dan Sandifer earned star status. But Washington was known for its aerial circus, and George Marshall's ringleader was Hall of Famer Sammy Baugh, who in 14 seasons led the Redskins to 5 division titles and 2 world championships. In the 50s, Marshall signed the diminutive Eddie LeBaron, and the imaginative owner devised a method for LeBaron to measure up to Ball's lofty stature.
Mr. Marshall didn't want a short quarterback. So in the programs in those days, initially I was 5'10" and 180 when we started, and gradually they finally talked him into putting my true size down to 5'7" and 160.
LeBaron led Washington in passing 5 times, proving he could stand tall against NFL defenses. Other standouts in the mid-50s included running back Billy Wells, number 41, whose 88-yard touchdown is still a team record, and North Carolina's Charlie Choo Choo Justice, number 22. Aided by the blocking of number 60, 3-time Pro Bowl guard Dick Stanfel, Don Bosseler, number 31 of the famous 57 All-Rookie Lollipop backfield, emerged as Washington's top runner in the late 50s. Defensive end Gene Brito, a 5-time Pro Bowler, was the mainstay of the defense, along with Pro Bowl linebackers Chuck Drazanovich and Torgy Torgerson, and defensive back Norb Hecker, number 48. Hecker led the team in interceptions for 2 consecutive seasons. Two other heroes of the 50s, this defensive back, number 25, and this sure-handed wide receiver, number 81, are still NFL competitors. Both eventually gave up their helmets for headsets and are now successful head coaches with the New York Jets and Miami Dolphins. In 1961, the Redskins moved into D.C. Stadium, where halfback Dickie James explored the new turf in frenzied fashion. James' electrifying running style was matched by the high-voltage output of receiver Bobby Mitchell. While Mitchell, who in 1962 became the Redskins' first black player, was busy breaking new ground in Washington, quarterback Sonny Jurgensen earned notoriety by breaking training. Traded for Norm Snead in 1964, Jurgensen arrived with a strong arm and an equally strong thirst for fun. However, Sonny quickly proved he could easily pull his own weight. In 1965, Jurgensen threw 3 touchdown passes and brought his team back from a 21-0 deficit to beat Dallas in the greatest comeback ever by a Redskin team. The following year, Sonny led Washington to a 72-41 win over the Giants in the highest scoring game in NFL history. Complementing Jurgensen were receivers Charlie Taylor, number 42, Bobby Mitchell, and Jerry Smith, number 87, who together in 1967 captured 3 of the league's top 4 receiving spots. Yet despite possessing all the necessary ingredients, the Redskins of the 60s failed to post a winning season. But 1969 saw the arrival of a master architect. Lured by a new challenge, Vince Lombardi left Green Bay and immediately laid the foundation for success.
Now, very first meeting that we had, we sat down and across from each other in his office, and he said, "You know, young man, I've heard many things about you, some good and some bad." He said, "I'm sure you've heard good and bad about me." He said, "The only thing I ask of you is to be yourself. Don't try to emulate anybody else. Don't try to be something that you're not. You be yourself, and we're going to win."
Although Sonny maintained his free-spirited identity, his team underwent a major personality transformation. Rookie running back Larry Brown epitomized Washington's newfound determination, as suddenly the urge to win had become a blind obsession. While Sonny motivated the offense, linebacker Sam Huff captained the defense. Huff, Chris Hanberger, number 55, and the rest of the fiery Redskin defenders stopped opponents dead in their tracks. Lombardi had magnificently renewed an entire organization's dedication to victory, and by year's end, the Redskins' 7-5-2 record represented the team's first winning season since 1955. Tragically, Vince Lombardi died the following year. And while he'll be remembered most for the dynasty he built in Green Bay, the magic he performed in the nation's capital will never be forgotten by Redskin fans. Following in Lombardi's footsteps was an energetic coach named George Allen. Unlike most coaches, Allen was an advocate of the future is now theory, emphasizing experience over youth. His teams often looked like an alumni reunion with receding hairlines and expanding waistlines.
Coach Allen would time the ball players in training camp, and very few of the veterans got timed. I don't think George wanted to know how slow we really were.
Just remember this, 40 men together can't lose, okay?
Despite the Redskins' questionable conditioning, Allen put together some of the finest NFL teams of the 70s. Like Lombardi, Allen inspired great performances from his players. In 1973, a Redskin victory was secured over the Cowboys when Hall of Fame defensive back Ken Houston dramatically stopped Walt Garrison on the goal line. Coach Allen also stressed the importance of special teams play, beginning a proud tradition that has carried on into the 80s. The Redskins of the over-the-hill years uniquely blended veterans like All-Pro center Len Hoss with youngsters such as 1975 Rookie of the Year halfback Mike Thomas. In a decade filled with accomplishments, Larry Brown, number 43, became the first Redskin back to rush for 1,000 yards in a single season. The league's MVP in 1972, Brown's determined running style reflected both his team spirit and the rugged neighborhood he grew up in.
I made a major contribution to a team effort. I gave 100% or more on every play. The way I ran was the way I had to run to get home every day.
Led by gritty quarterback Billy Kilmer, Washington won more games in the 70s than in any other previous period in team history. The most significant of these victories was the 1972 NFC Championship game against Dallas. The Cowboys were the reigning Super Bowl champions. However, Washington was determined to capture its first title in 30 years. In what was becoming one of the most bitter rivalries in professional football, Washington outclassed the Cowboys 26-3 to earn a trip to Super Bowl VII. In the LA Coliseum, the Redskins faced the undefeated Miami Dolphins. In a hard-fought defensive struggle, Miami kept its perfect record intact with a 14-7 win. However, the disheartening loss could by no means overshadow the accomplishments of the Redskins' winningest era. George Allen had instilled a high school spirit in a group of grown men. Full of innocent hope and reckless abandon, the Over-the-Hill gang recorded 7 consecutive winning seasons, while maintaining a romantic harmony unique to the world of sports. In the 80s, General Manager Bobby Beathard helped Washington proceed on its prosperous path by hiring head coach Joe Gibbs in 1981. Gibbs arrived in the nation's capital with a high-tech approach that has launched the Redskins into the space age. Coach Gibbs' fashionable offenses have established the NFC's best record since '82, as well as trends and milestones.
Back is Theismann, steps up, fires it down the far side. He's got it complete to Monk. There's the record at the 30. He's down to the 20, inside the 20, and Art Monk has just broken the National Football League record for receptions in a single season. 9 seconds to go. Theismann to hold from the 32, a 42-yard attempt. 20 long enough. It's good! Mark Mosley has broken the National Football League record.
Mosley's record 23 consecutive field goals was one of the many triumphs in the Redskins Super Bowl season. The 80s also witnessed John Riggins become the NFL's 4th all-time leading rusher and 2nd all-time leading touchdown scorer, while George Rogers rushed for a single-game team record 206 yards in 1985. While the offenses were flashy, the defenses were nasty. Under Gibbs, Washington has consistently ranked among pro football's best defenses versus both the pass and run. The Redskins have made a lasting impression in the 80s, playing incredible games, such as the 1982 NFC Championship.
We want Dallas. The chant still goes. 50,000 people screaming, "We want Dallas." Time to pull up those socks, defense. Let's see what happens. Gets the snap. Back. Blitz is on. Fumble the football. Danny White looks like he's knocked out. Oh, he is out.
Not since Custer's last stand had Cowboys been so overwhelmed by Redskins.
On first down, play action fake to Dorsett. Hit the ball well. Set up a screen, batted in the air, picked off by Darryl Grant. Touchdown, Washington Redskins! I don't believe it! Oh, what a play! Dexter Manley tipped the pass. Darryl Grant got the interception, and now the stadium shakes.
Washington's 31-17 victory was one of the biggest wins in team history and propelled the Redskins into their 2nd Super Bowl.
I am in a state of ecstasy. Never mind that nonsense about euphoria and so on. It is sheer, unadulterated, uncompromising ecstasy.
We busted our ass. We've worked harder than anybody to get here. Nobody can beat us in a team, and it's worth $70,000 and a big ring.
The Redskins were braves on the warpath in 1982, and when the sun set in Pasadena, Super Bowl 17 became another feather in their headdress.
Here comes the Diesel. Here comes the Diesel. Should come with John Riggins right up the middle.
Shot! Yellow 41! Yellow 41! Hunt!
There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. That, gentlemen, may be the a nail in the coffin. No question, it is a nail in the coffin.
With a 27-17 victory, Washington had won its first world championship in 40 years. In the 80s, the Redskins have risen to the summit of pro football. But their ascent would not have been possible if not for the bold steps taken by two enterprising, visionary men, Jack Kent Cooke and George Preston Marshall. From the past to the present, every Redskin team has reflected their adventurous nature. The players have been special men who, while bound by a common goal, were all very different. No two styles were the same. But individualism often breeds success. Occasional disappointments didn't prevent achievement. They inspired it.
Play action fake by Schrader. Quick hitter over the middle to the earth. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
For 50 years, the Washington Redskins have attained glory simply because they have never stopped reaching for it.
Try to build defense first. If you don't have a good defense, you're not going to win that much. We think that to be a champion, you have to have a good defense.
Be it George Allen's Redskins or any of the 28 teams throughout the National Football League, game day is D-Day. If your opponent can't score, you will not be beaten. Their theory is simple, their method somewhat more complex. These are the wreckers, the rebels. These are the defenders.
Let's tighten it up. Let's go. Give it here. 4-3 gap zone. You're 46 with a weak side trick post.
Good and solid. One time, huh? Half under, cover three. Ready? Hey!
Modern defense. An intricate set of numbers and code words directing 11 men on their sole objective.
Get somebody! You didn't get that.
In the beginning, however, defense was as simple as sacrificing your body to the wedge, as football was strictly force versus force. But with the revelation of the forward pass, defenders were driven out of their crude strategy and into the open field. Suddenly, old defensive concepts became obsolete, passed by like Conestoga wagons on a modern interstate highway. Needed was a new defensive concept, a system geared for a modern game. Their search was finally rewarded by a scheme called the 4-3 defense.
When I became the player coach of the Giants in '54, we went completely to the 4-3 defense, and from that time on, we tried to perfect the 4-3 defense. The basic 4-3 is 4 linemen down. We've got 2 tackles on the guards, 2 ends on the tackles, and we have 3 linebackers, which I still feel is the most versatile of all defenses, because on a snap of the ball, we could have 7 men playing the run real rapidly. Or we could have 7 men in the secondary playing the pass with good pass rush. And that was really the strength of the 4-3 defense. And so this is the reason the 4-3 has stayed as long as it has. I guess my background was such that I was kind of analytical. I had an industrial engineering degree, and everything I saw was really in coordinating people to work together, much more than the basic defensive concept where you kind of react to blocking and you fight pressure and you go to the ball carrier. Defense is really the ability to stop formations and their strong plays. And so we developed a series of keys for our linebackers and our backs so that we could be at the point of attack against any particular formation.
Anticipating plays rather than responding to them. Landry's intellectual approach turned defense into a positive force. More than ever, success for a pro team became related with an integrated defensive effort, starting with those 4 big men up front.
Well, we think the defense starts with the 4 rushmen. We call them rushmen because their job is to go after the quarterback. They're paid to rush the passer. Defensive linemen are paid to rush the passer, and if they can't rush the passer, they're stealing. If you have the rushmen and they're good, usually you have a pretty good defense.
A case in point, the Pittsburgh Steelers. White, Holmes, Green, and Greenwood. Experts all in the art of pass pocket demolition. Quarterbacks know once the steel curtain descends, you better have on your hard hat. This quartet leveled a path to consecutive world titles in 1974 and 75 and are a reminder of one of the NFL's great rush lines. The first fearsome foursome of Andy Robustelli, Jim Katcavage, Rosie Greer, and Dick Modzelewski, New York Giants of the late 1950s. Another fearsome foursome, the Los Angeles Rams of the mid-60s, made quarterbacks feel as though they were standing in the middle of a freeway interchange. Spanning a decade, the Minnesota Vikings Purple Gang has blended raw power with finesse to dismantle pass pockets piece by piece. The Baltimore Colts were resurrected in 1975 on the muscled might of the sack pack. 4 young, aggressive studs who realize sacking the quarterback is the yardstick measuring all defensive linemen. And it was this ability that made an all-pro of Mike Reed.
There is no improper way to get to the quarterback. If it means hurdling over guards, hurdling over blockers, the objective is to get there. The objective is to put your body on his body while he still has the ball. If you tackle a quarterback for an 8 or 9 yard loss, there's no way that anyone could term that it was done incorrectly.
Separating the defensive lineman from his trophy is the offensive lineman, punching bags for these huge defenders. Pass rushing is like trying to fight your way into a cage. If you're blocked, you claw your way in. If you fall, you crawl. But while rushmen toil amid an environment that encourages recklessness, One individual who ignores the direct route to the passer and opts instead for the course which will inflict maximum punishment on his foe can waste the efforts of the whole.